in the squadron. They called him Bullets, but we call him Greg Kelly. Greg Kelly is on the air
on the Red Apple Podcast Network.
Yikes, they got a body bag on the front of the post. So the number 2 guy, Lieutenant Governor of Virginia, former Lieutenant Governor of Virginia, the number 2 official in the entire state, just killed himself. Before he did that, he killed his wife. Justin Fairfax lived in a place called Fairfax County, actually, but his name is Justin Fairfax, was a lawyer, and he was 47 years old. Come on, dude, there's always another way. What happened was he was going through a very messy, terrible, complicated divorce. You know, sometimes the divorcing couples live in the same house. You ever see that arrangement? I could never understand that. I think that may have been happening here. I don't know anything about this guy other than he was lieutenant governor. And when he was lieutenant governor, a couple of women came out of the woodwork with tales of him being very aggressive sexually back in the law school days. I don't know if that's true or not, but I do remember those reports, and that's also about it. It saddens me a bit. It does. And I'll tell you something else that saddens me. Obviously, he's a human being, but I'm just going to notice it. You know, I don't know. Any human being, right? But it happens to be a black man. And if you look at the numbers, you know, often, not too often, I should say, every racial group has distress, right? But there happens to be disproportionate amount of distress in African American, and also the family structure for many years, decades actually, has been somewhat under siege. And here is a guy who raised in a great family and all that stuff, and then this happens. I think it's especially sorrowful for a person, for any person, to take this in, and terrible. I see all this hope, and I remember him actually. I do remember him saying, "Well, I'm not quitting," and I kind of admired that. I kind of admired it. Man, this guy's just going to, he's not going to be stopped. Well, he was ultimately stopped by himself. We can be our own worst enemies. Terrible. Just, I don't like it. We got peace between Israel and Beirut, and it looks like Israel and Lebanon, that is. Lebanon could be joining the Abraham Accords. That would be lovely. Wouldn't that be amazing? Talk about peace in the Middle East. And things are looking up in Iran. Big time. We had a briefing this morning. At my urging, I've been saying we need more briefings, and I need to hear from the Central Command General or Admiral, whoever's in charge of Central Command. They finally put Admiral Cooper out there. So I know he's functioning. He's not artificial animation, and he's a man. Do you remember General Norman Schwarzkopf, Stormin' Norman? He was all over the tube during Gulf War I, and we haven't had anything like that this time around. So he's doing his thing, and let's see here. The blockade is holding. It's really not it's not a blockade. It's not a blockade of the Strait of Hormuz. You can come in and out of the Strait of Hormuz. It's actually what you can't access any of the Iranian ports. That's the distinction, right? And it's a fair distinction. What else? I do want to talk a little bit about, I thought it was a pretty decent briefing. You know, the only thing is, what they do sometimes is they play up the troops. The troops are doing an amazing job. The troops are great. The troops. Well, I know the troops are doing an amazing job. It's you guys I'm wondering about. It's the secretary. It's the chairman. It's the general in charge of Central Command. You know, that is what I want to know about. And sometimes if you play up the troops enough, you don't have to talk about the sensitive things, right? You don't have to. So let me do this. Do me a favor, Jonas, turn this around. This happened at 8:00 this morning, and I'm glad they filled us in, but there's something a little bit odd about the way he speaks. That's all right. You know, look, under tremendous pressure. I came up with a slogan yesterday. I didn't invent it, but it felt like I invented it. I said it out loud. Cut the guy some slack. Cut him some slack. That used to be very oft said in the 70s and the 80s. You never hear it anymore. Everybody is intolerant. Everybody is so ultra sensitive. Why? Because, well, if you're a victim or, you've been offended in some way, you can be outraged, and there's nothing more satisfying. It's like our national pastime, right? Being outraged. Can you believe what they said? That's another thing. Everyone's freaked out about what somebody says. I want to know more about what people did, what people do. And speaking of that, and I'm going to be kind of beating the drum here a little bit. I don't care if I'm the only one, but we have to remember the crime that was committed against President Trump in 2019, 2020, 2021. Actually, it started in 2015, but the one I'm focused on right now is the fake prosecution over the Stormy Daniels situation. Remember Stormy Daniels and the payments and all that stuff? Now, President Trump, I've heard of politicians getting in trouble for getting cash, bribes, that kind of thing. I never heard of a politician ever getting in trouble for writing a check to his own lawyer for legal expenses. That's what happened. And Alvin Bragg and Matthew Colangelo and a bunch of other people stood there with straight faces. Juan Merchan. I'd love to have an organized legal protest in front of Juan Merchan's house, wherever the hell that is, right? All those protesters for the most part are fake. Well, they're not fake, but somebody's paying for it. Those signs, they don't just get made at somebody's kitchen table. They're made at a firm. They're made at a at a high price too. You can talk to these guys for $8,000. We'll get 5 people with bullhorns. For $10,000, we'll give them signs. For $20,000, we can have 50 people there. That's how they roll. And these people, and they can stay on message, and they go from place to place to place. Democrats are very good at this. Republicans, not as much. Alvin Bragg, still in office. Can you believe it? Cut 1, please. Cut 1.
Earlier this afternoon, Donald Trump was arraigned on a New York Supreme Court indictment returned by a Manhattan grand jury on 34 felony counts of falsifying business records in the first degree. These are felony crimes in New York State, no matter who you are. We cannot and will not normalize serious criminal conduct.
There's not serious criminal conduct. That guy should have been arrested right then and there for perjury, for lying, for dereliction of duty, for something. Hey, hold everything. Do you live in New Jersey? Joe Hathaway for Congress. I like that guy today. Thursday is election day. Talk about a screwy system over there. So Joe Hathaway is the Republican running for the seat vacated by, Mikey Sherrill, who's now the governor. So it's an open seat, and I think it's the 1st district. We'll look it up here. It's open, and the person on the left running for it is a total leftist, anti-Israel lunatic. And Joe Hathaway is a former mayor of Randolph, all-around nice guy. Joe Hathaway for Congress. We've had him in here many times. He's reasonable, common sense, and I think an all-around great guy. And it's a credit to America that somebody like this actually wants to serve in Congress. That is not easy. It's not particularly lucrative. Joe Hathaway for Congress. Let's see where the hell exactly that is. It's like Morris. It's in the middle of that. The 11th district. Joe Hathaway is running. Where is the 11th district? That's northern New Jersey, right? Morris, what else is up there? Okay, you guys in New Jersey have to figure that one out. But Joe Hathaway, solid guy. Mejia, I think her name is, or Mejia, she's crazy. I mean, she is out and out crazy. She's all into this transgender children nonsense, right? She is like AOC, but not smart, okay? Dumber than AOC. Joe Hathaway, all the way, good luck, sir. Has anybody seen or heard of Barack Obama lately? Where the hell is that guy? He's sitting on Money Mountain. There's going to be some accountability for him coming up. I want everybody also to remember that there was a lawyer that was basically stalking President Trump during his first term and the subsequent time between administrations. His name is Matthew Colangelo. And you can see him. He was the prosecutor, assistant district attorney under Alvin Bragg, prosecuting that phony case against President Trump. Now, it was totally outlandish that a guy like that would be involved in any case in New York. Number one, he had come from being the number 3 official at the Justice Department under Joe Biden and Merrick Garland. He was the number 3 guy, and he He leaves all that to become a rank and file, run-of-the-mill prosecutor at a local district attorney's office. It's ludicrous. Here's what he sounds like, by the way. This is in 2021. Matthew Colangelo, pretty boy, little boy prosecutor at the very highest levels of the Biden administration. And he leaves it all to become a local assistant prosecutor. That doesn't make sense. Cut 3, please. Cut 3.
On behalf of Attorney General Merrick Garland, let me say that the Department of Justice and the Environmental Protection Agency are excited to co-host this event together. The only thing better would be to be with you in person. Hopefully, we'll be able to do that next year.
I'll skip it. Thank you, Matthew. Seems like a bit of a, what does he sound like? A wimp. Let's see here. Matthew Colangelo, lawyer, Democratic consultant, paid thousands upon thousands of dollars by the Democrat Party for work. And this is the man who prosecuted President Trump in a courtroom in New York State on our taxpayer time, right? When there's real serious stuff going on. A guy writes checks to his own lawyer. Is that the problem? Listen to here. More of Matthew Colangelo, the prime, under Alvin Bragg, the prime prosecutor against President Trump, back when he was a top-level official in the Biden administration. Cut 4.
President Biden and Attorney General Garland understand that the brunt of the harm caused by pollution and climate change is often borne by communities of color and low-income communities. Within his very first week on the job, President Biden directed all federal agencies to develop programs and policies to address the disproportionately high and adverse health, environmental, climate-related, and other cumulative impacts on communities.
Well, isn't that wonderful? Matt Colangelo, where is that guy? Where is he now? Why did he get that job? How did he get that job? Matt Gaetz would have been the best attorney general ever. I still give President Trump a lot of credit for coming up with the idea to make him attorney general. He couldn't make it. Too much opposition. Matt Gaetz was just too qualified for that job and would have turned that place inside and out. What's her name? Bondi didn't have it. Just didn't have it. But Matt Gaetz knew it was very suspicious that a guy like Matthew Colangelo from the top levels of the White House was prosecuting President Trump in 2024 in a local prosecution office. It made no sense. This is glorious. Matt Gaetz versus Merrick Garland, cut 5.
So you won't comment on it, Mr. Attorney General, but you had no problem dispatching Matthew Colangelo. Who's Matthew Colangelo?
That is false. I did not dispatch Matthew Colangelo.
Matthew
That's
Colangelo became the Assistant Attorney General at the very beginning of the Biden administration. Without having been Senate confirmed, goes and gets this senior role at the DOJ. And then after, I believe it's Gupta replaces Colangelo, Colangelo makes this remarkable downstream career journey from the U.S. Department of Justice in Washington, D.C., and then pops up in Alvin Bragg's office to go get Trump. And you're saying that's just a career choice that was made that has nothing to do with the lawfare coordinated by the
saying it's false. I did not dispatch Mr. Colangelo anywhere.
Well, do you know how he ended up there?
I assume he applied for a job there and got the job.
But see, you know what?
I tell you, I had nothing to do with it.
Dispatch. He seized on that word, dispatch. I did not dispatch him. What does dispatch mean? What is did he okay it? Did he, what? I didn't dispatch. I sent him. What is the difference between dispatch versus send? These are the kinds of little games that lawyers play. I did not dispatch him. He said it twice. What is the difference between send and dispatch? Let's see. Oh, people have written about this extensively on Reddit. You ever go to Reddit? Reddit, they debate everything from, the war in Iran to the wingspan of a mosquito. It's crazy. When we're talking about causing someone or something to go to another place, to send is the default verb. It's very general. I always send my daughter flowers for her birthday. NASA first sent men to the moon in 1969. We use dispatch to describe quickly sending someone or something to a destination, usually on official business. When the admiral received word of the sinking, he immediately dispatched helicopters to search for survivors. When we use the phrase or have the phrase with dispatch. So what he's saying is we didn't send him on official business. It wasn't official DOJ business. We sent him. We didn't dispatch him. You lying little piece. Hey, one other thing here. When they were so happy with their verdict, guilty verdict, you know what we should have heard from? The jurors, the Manhattan jurors who made President Trump a felon, right? And technically, he's actually not a felon. He was convicted, but he wasn't a felon. You got to be sentenced before you're a felon. Nope, it stopped mid-process. Not a convicted felon. But the jurors who convicted Whitey Bulger, one of the most notorious mobsters ever, went right on TV and told the whole story. Here's a smidgen. Why haven't we seen these on the Today Show? But we saw all of Whitey Bulger. Remember Whitey Bulger? He killed people in his basement, but didn't just shoot them in the head like a gentleman. He ripped out their teeth first, and then cut off their feet, and then shot him in the stomach, watched him bleed. He was a very bad man, Whitey Bulger. Yikes! Be right back.
Greg Kelly.
Let's go, Brandon.
On the Red Apple Podcast Network.
Greg Kelly.
On the Red Apple Podcast Network.
Katy Perry is accused of sexual assault 15 years ago, 16 years ago in 2010. Give me a break. Noted lesbian Ruby Rose, who was, I guess, in the Orange is the New Black show. Remember when that was the whole rage? That helped give rise to this transgender mess with Laverne Cox. Remember her? I never watched the show. I just heard about it relentlessly. On the Good Day show, we always were having those people come through. I couldn't even pretend I was interested. I was just like, oh, gosh, I can't get into this. But Katy Perry allegedly sat on the face of Ruby Rose without consent. In a club? Yes, in a club. Now, according to the club manager, they both had way too much to drink. Too much to drink the night the latter was allegedly sexually assaulted. It was Melbourne, Australia, more than 15 years ago. I got to stand up for Katy Perry here. I mean, you can't come forward with this stuff that much. People also, again, I've been hearing it a lot. How dare you say that? 90 years, some woman. The woman who writes about Jeffrey Epstein, the one from the Miami Herald, went on Twitter, because I was like, I just said 8 years ago? 8 years ago, Swalwell did this 8 years ago? Are you going to, what? You've been hapless and helpless and hopeless for 8 years? You didn't come forward to tell your truth? What's going on here? I think I just 8 years, question mark. And she told me this bizarre story, told everyone, me and everyone on Twitter, X, trying to shame me that some 90-year-old friend of hers said something happened to her when she was 20. Okay. I'm not saying it didn't, but did she accuse somebody who's alive of doing it? Because if there's somebody who's accused, they have rights. And we don't believe women, we believe evidence. Holy cow, did I just see George Conway is running for Congress? George Conway is running for Congress, that Trump-hating, backstabbing, undermining his wife, Kellyanne Conway guy. He's running for Congress in New York City. Is he one of those maniacs running for that? Oh, gosh. Well, that'll be fun. I don't think he's got any legs here. Nobody knows who he is unless you watch a lot of cable TV. I don't think that's going to work out. All right. Yeah, Katy Perry, I don't buy it. The club manager seems to be downplaying the whole thing. So this was this morning. I would like to hear it. I am curious. I thought it was a solid briefing overall. I'm not, but I do want to hear this. It's generated some talk. Hegseth, the Secretary of War, talking about what exactly? Go ahead with that if you don't mind, please. Hegseth this morning.
Speaking of choosing wisely, a note to the press corps, to the American media. As I just can't help but notice the endless stream of garbage, the relentlessly negative coverage, you cannot resist peddling. Despite the historic and important success of this effort and the success of our troops. Sometimes it's hard to figure out what side some of you are actually on. It's incredibly unpatriotic. This same press corps, not this exact same press corps, but at least an older press corps, bent over backwards during the Biden administration to explain away, the disastrous and disgraceful Afghanistan withdrawal. You called it the greatest airlift in American history. It's almost like you're cheering only for one side.
Stop for a second. Hey, these are valid points, actually, especially with the withdrawal from Afghanistan. They pretended it didn't happen, right? They moved on so quickly. I mean, he's got a certain venom in his voice, right? I mean, we've made this point before. He invited these people here, right, for the briefing. I mean, I don't know. I feel like there's a time and a place for this kind of stuff. I don't know if that's the time and the place. There's a word, I just said you don't hear about cut the guy some slack. You know what you don't hear anymore? Maturity. Like maturity, being mature as a value, right? You never hear that word anymore. I remember the big debate I had growing up. Do you say mature or mature? That was very mature of you. Some people actually said mature. I thought mature and maturity. Right now it's acting like an idiot is kind of valued, right? Just making a spectacle out of yourself. That's kind of off topic here. Let me hear the rest of this because now he's about to go biblical. Keep going.
This past Sunday, I was sitting in church with my family, and our minister preached from the book of Mark, the 3rd chapter. And in the passage, Jesus entered a synagogue and healed a man with a withered hand. The Pharisees came to watch. And as the scripture reads, they came to see whether Jesus, would heal him, or he would heal him on the Sabbath, so that they might accuse him. You see, the Pharisees, the so-called and self-appointed elites of their time, they were there to witness, to write everything down, to report. But their hearts were hardened. Even though they witnessed a literal miracle, it didn't matter. They were only there to explain away the goodness in pursuit of their agenda. As the passage ends, the Pharisees went out and immediately held counsel against him, how to destroy him. I sat there in church and I thought, our press are just like these Pharisees. Not all of you, but the legacy Trump-hating press. Your politically motivated animus for President Trump nearly completely blinds you from the brilliance of our American warriors. The Pharisees scrutinized every good act in order to find a violation, only looking for the negative. The hardened hearts of our press are calibrated only to impugn. I would ask you to open your eyes to the goodness, the historic success of our troops, the courage of this president, and this historic moment for a deal that could end the Iranian nuclear threat. The incredible battlefield victory laid before your eyes. The not one, but 2 incredible rescue missions, miracles, you might say, or a locked-in blockade. Or how about historic recruiting numbers? Yesterday, we announced that the Air Force and the Space Force met new higher
Let me jump in for a
goals
second.
FY26.
Actually, I first heard it this morning. I was doing stuff, and then hearing it now, it's not a bad analogy, actually. I mean, the moment you mention something from the Bible, how could he do that I would say his tone is a little bit raw. I think kind of even the mention, I was in church on Sunday with my family, seemed a little bit self-righteous to me. However, that's kind of the media acting like the Pharisees and trying to find fault with everything, not only with Trump, everything. Nothing's good enough. Everything sucks, right? Blah, 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 blah. Except Joe Biden, except Democrats. It's he's not off. He's not off. It actually works. It lands. If you know the Bible, right? And we all know that part about. Keep going, Pete. Keep going.
5 months in advance of the end of the fiscal year. Five months ahead of time. The Marine Corps and the Army will soon do the same. 2-3 years ago, we couldn't meet lower recruiting numbers, not even close. Where are the reports on that? Where's the coverage of the new spirit in the country, the new spirit in the ranks, the surge of Americans wanting to join the greatest military in the world? Nothing from the fake news. We sense a pattern. You see, on the battlefield, these are demonstrations of uniquely American capabilities, strength and resolve. It's all around you each and every day. But in the press, you only seek the negative.
Stop for a second. I mean, here's an issue, though. All right. Larger point, yes. Now he's getting into the nitnoid, and we don't have any embedded reporters over there. We don't have any, they haven't opened up anything, really. We got to rely on your, like, 8 to 9 day, every 8 to 9 days briefing, and just saying what a great job the troops are doing. We don't, I mean, I'm confident of that, but just because you say it, right? And I don't know, recruitment's up, recruitment's down, you know, I just, fine, but I don't know. It's you got a war going on, and he's bitching about they're not reporting the recruiting numbers. Really? How many people did we recruit last month? How many people did we recruit last year? I have no idea. Most people don't know that. And most people, you know, it's not the kind of thing that gets people talking. In fairness to the media, the fake news, and they are terrible. Keep going if you don't mind. He's almost done.
Earning each and every day the fake news label. But the American people, with goodness in their hearts, see past the Pharisees in our press. They see the goodness. You watching, you see the goodness. They see the success. They see the reality. And they don't demand perfection, and perfection is not possible on any battlefield. But they see the incredible feats that our troops accomplish every single day.
I wish we did. We don't necessarily see that, actually. And by the way, we're in the middle of a ceasefire. All right, he's all indignant about everything. But the Pharisee stuff, I'm actually intrigued. Hey, let's see here. President Trump. Oh, I told you guys yesterday, he truthed me, and I got an amazing response. 2019 impeachment of President Trump was illegal. I went through how it's illegal, and he went all out. He went all out and put it on Truth Social, and the feedback has been wild. Back to the trial. Oh, here's something. Cut him some slack. Even you, Megyn Kelly, cut him some slack. There's still fallout from the artificial intelligence stuff. Megyn seems so mad and a little bit deranged here. 9, if you don't mind. 9.
This is completely wrong. The president should take down that meme. He should apologize, which is something he never, ever does. But he doesn't care. He won't. He's not going to apologize because he's not sorry.
It's she's very intense. I don't know why she had to be so intense. Cut the guy some slack. He's been shot. He's been arrested. He wants to have a little bit of fun. He's experimenting. He's learning. And oh, by the way, that wasn't sacrilegious. I went through it. There's actually, it was a scene presenting him not as Christ, but as a doctor. It was created by this guy, and the whole backstory is kind of just absolves President Trump of this blasphemy charge. He didn't do anything blasphemous. And actually, he opened my eyes a little bit. There's so much, I went down this rabbit hole of, do we imitate Christ, and how do we imitate Christ, and when is it okay to imitate Christ? And obviously, it's always okay to imitate Christ. Do you show it like that? Well, there's a book called The Imitation of Christ. It's by a Jesuit named David Camus. Came out 400 years ago. It's still in circulation, and it's still very, very important. And I am reading that as a result of this so-called scandal surrounding President Trump. Some Catholic leaders I saw were very nasty and said this is scandalous and offensive. And no, actually, you guys got it wrong. One guy, John Yep, said this is dangerous what President Trump did. And he called the war designed by Israel. And I'm like, dude, you're not speaking for me. He said Christians everywhere are horrified by the vulgarity of President Trump, saying a vulgar word on on Easter Sunday. He wasn't talking about Easter. He was talking to our enemies. And you want to yell at our enemies. You want to use that kind of nasty language. That's okay, folks. That is okay. Yes, David Harris Jr. I'm going to go ahead and cue all that up for everybody. Great guy. He takes us through the entire story about how this really is going down. I'm on Zepbound, everybody. Zepbound. Have you ever heard of it? Zepbound is one of those injectables. I just tried it. I don't know if I'm going to stay on it, but so far I dropped 8 pounds. I dropped 8 pounds since Saturday. Something's going on. I don't feel funny. I don't feel woozy. I don't feel weird. I actually feel pretty damn good. I've been trying to lose this weight. I went on a diet March 1st. And what was my diet? I'm going to eat right and exercise. Okay? I was 227 on March 1st. On Saturday, I was 229. This diet and exercise is not working for me. So I gave in. I didn't want to do it. I thought it was cheating. I thought it wasn't healthy for me, but my wife kind of pleaded with me. So we got Zepbound. And somebody else had recommended it. I heard about it and somebody else, and I'm like, all right, I'm doing it. Fine. Give me the shot. I didn't even want to get on the scale. I knew I was very, very heavy. 228.8. That's a record for me. And the weight has been falling off. And it doesn't seem to be unhealthy. I mean, I'm eating. I'm not starving, but I'm just eating, very, very moderately. I don't feel a compulsion to snack. I can walk by. I don't have that temptation anymore. I don't know if this is a miracle drug or if it's psychosomatic, but something wonderful is happening, I believe, to my body. 8 pounds have fallen. I am now 220.8. And let's do the math. That is 8 pounds. I got 2 days to go until Saturday, right? What could I be? I mean, at this rate, my goal is 180 pounds. Could that happen? Yes, and I think it's going to happen before the end of May. Give me a moment. Mamdani is taxing the people who make this city go round. That pied-à-terre, if you're rich enough to have a pied-à-terre, right? What is a pied-à-terre? It's an apartment for the city when you're in the city. You primarily live somewhere else. It's a foot in the ground. Literally, it means foot in the earth. A little place to hang your hat every now and then. Mamdani thinks he can fund all of his crazy schemes by putting this thing into effect. He thinks he's gotten away with it with that bucktooth bimbo from Buffalo, Kathy Hochul, by his side. It ain't happening. Be right back.
Greg Kelly
on the Red Apple Podcast Network.
Greg Kelly, entertaining and informative
on the Red Apple Podcast Network.
And so for all of the discussion of the imagined exodus that would take place were we to tax the wealthiest New Yorkers by the appropriate amount, I say imagined because before I was a mayor, I was a state legislator, and I was part of an effort to increase taxes on millionaires at that time. We were told the same thing then. And what we find now is that we have more millionaires today than we did at that time, even after having passed that tax. And so for all of that conversation about this imagined exodus, we have to reckon with the very real exodus that we are seeing in the city. An exodus of working class people. An exodus of those who cannot afford to live here. And for many who work here, who now find their residence in Jersey City or in Connecticut or in Pennsylvania, anywhere else where their dollar can go a little bit further. And we've seen just in a snapshot from 2000 to 2020, the city lost 200,000 of its black residents. That is the cost of inaction. And so that also speaks to the urgency of this conversation and this advocacy, and it is a representation of the fact that while this is a global issue, it is also very much a local issue here in New York City.
A recipe for communism. And it started. You know, he's taking over the insurance industry. He wants city to provide insurance for homeowners. This is going to be some sort of a sop to the real estate community. They can't really be for this, can they? It is what he talked about when he was making those lustful videos, dreaming about being powerful and dreaming about government ownership of the means of production. It is a more than a baby step in that direction. taking over now. If you know about this stuff, if this is more logical, it doesn't seem like it. It seems totally out of line to me. But do you own property in New York City? Do you own stuff? You have landlords out there who are receiving rent. Listen to this. New York City Mayor Zoran Mamdani is introducing a plan to lower insurance costs for apartment landlords, his first prominent effort to help the city's real estate owners after months of feuding with the industry. His administration intends to use city dollars to issue new insurance policies that would reduce property owners' insurance costs between 20% to 30%. Mamdani still must get the funding approved through the city council, pushovers. He hopes to offer the policies next year to owners of rent-stabilized buildings or other affordable housing covering 20,000 homes. He wants to increase the number to 100 by 2030. Mamdani is expected to unveil the plan today. Insurance costs for rent-stabilized buildings have risen 10.5% over the past year, the second largest increase behind the fuel costs, according to the city's rent guideline boards. Insurance is one of the driving forces of increased costs that owners have been facing. This is really about trying to control those costs. Now, the new insurance program marks a meaningful pivot by Mamdani after a number of his proposals intended to make housing more affordable or balance the city's budget brought an outcry from real estate interests. Now, property owners have been among the mayor's loudest opponents, yes, but Mamdani is still sorting out the details of how this program would be implemented, including what kind of apartment buildings would qualify and how much the program might ultimately cost. How do you do this? It sounds too far-fetched, quite frankly, to me. The city is hiring a risk consultant to build out the program's design. It is also looking for a commercial insurance provider to actually operate the program, because he doesn't know how to do it, so you need commercial people to do it. But it's going to, it seems like it's contradicting itself already. By leaning on the city coffers, the insurance policies will be cheaper to issue because the government does not have the same profit demands as private insurers. And it will provide more options, they say, to buildings that might have more trouble securing an affordable insurance policy. Insurance companies are looking to drop families like me with small properties because they don't find us to be worth having on the books, said Jan Lee, whose rent-stabilized apartment building with a total of 28 units in Chinatown have been in his family for generations. Well, it looks like a temporary solution to a long-term problem, but the long-term solution will morph into government ownership, which is what I don't want. I don't think anybody wants when they really think about it. What a fix we're in with this guy. Thanks a lot, Curtis. That poor egomaniac. You know, every professional, every guy who is running for mayor, we said awful things about them because, well, they were true, and we were trying to save the city. But now that we're here, right, alliances are being formed, words were said, but not even apologies, just an understanding. You move past it. Mamdani moved past it. Cuomo moved past it. Curtis, like a little baby, like the little baby he is, can't get past it. His feelings were hurt. Oh, we should have done this for him. We should have done that for him. Well, he should have been a professional. He should have run a professional campaign, not have it be an offshoot of his stupid stickball league, right? Not be another little fun thing with Guardian Angels awareness. Another money grab by his sister. What about that? Have they really looked into that yet? Have we really found out where all that money went? I mean, giving a guy like Curtis Sliwa millions of dollars is dangerous. I mean, no offense to Curtis, but he can't handle that kind of money. He doesn't have the administrative ability. I don't think he has the integrity. I don't think he has the maturity. That's what he's lacking, maturity. He's just not a mature person. It's all stickball, goofball, subways, yeah, this, that, and the other thing. Up in the Bronx, baby, yeah. It's this old world view of everything. And that got him 7%. We pleaded with him to run a professional campaign. Pleaded with him. There were people, volunteers, I put him directly in touch with. He wouldn't call back. There were other things. I should play you the interview that I did with him in the summer of 2025, in the middle of it. This didn't come from nowhere, right? This feud or whatever you want to call it. Some would say, Curtis would say, our abandonment of Curtis in his time of need. No, Curtis abandoned us, actually, when he stuck to his comfort zone. Amateur politician. Joiner of block parties, right? And mini parades in the far reaches of Staten Island. That's not going to get you over the top. You gotta do things you've never done before. There's like 1,000 different things that you got to do to become the mayor of New York. Curtis did 2 of them. Hey, everybody knows who I am. And I'm going to go to stickball events. Oh, 3 things. And I'm going to get the match. The match. He squandered it all. And now look where we are. I can't stand Cuomo. Can't stand the guy. But we'd be in a much better place with that guy in City Hall than this guy, right? And that's Curtis. Curtis did that. Curtis Sliwa. Selfish, immature man. But I still love the guy at heart. I'll be right back.
Thanks for listening to The Greg Kelly Show. You can hear The Greg Kelly Show weekdays at 12:15 on 77 WABC. If you like the podcast, share it with your friends and listen anytime at WABCRadio.com and download the WABC Radio app. Hit that subscribe button on all major podcast platforms. Plus, follow WABC on social on Instagram, TikTok, Facebook, and X. See you next time for a new episode so you never have to wonder.
What the heck is going on here?